One must be admitted that BMW truly knows how to make an efficient and interesting engine, both from the driver's and engineering standpoint, but at the same time, they are notorious for all sorts of problems. While many troubles can be avoided with more frequent oil changes and other maintenance, some of their motors are simply not durable enough, even when an owner puts an above average effort. V8 is another new design for BMW. They have been building them since the 1950s with a little break. They stretch from 2.6 up to the 4.9 liter of the displacement, but the N63 was a completely new concept after all. As the first of its kind, this Hot V V8 was introduced in 2008. It means that the exhaust parts are inside and the turbochargers are packed in the middle of the engine. Typically for a BMW, this is an aluminum engine all around using a closed deck design, twin double overhead cam heads with a timing chain drive. The difference compared to its predecessors is that the heads are turned 180 degrees, with intake manifolds on the outside. The turbo system uses water-to-air intercoolers which are mounted close to the turbos and intake on the front of the engine. It is also the first direct injection V8 by BMW with twin high-pressure fuel pumps. There is no Valvetronic in the first models, and airflow is regulated by twin drive-by-wire throttle bodies. Interestingly, some parts are interchangeable with other engines. For instance, N54 injectors and N55 Vanish components. As mentioned, the very new feature of such an engine was the Hot V turbochargers and catalytic converters mounted very close to the heads. This promised an improved throttle response and fast spooling while keeping a footprint of the N63 smaller for an easier engine bay packaging. The V8 was really power dense and able to put a ton of torque to the wheels very quickly and immensely. This solution of the turbocharging system placement has got multiple benefits, but also downsides if not engineered properly. The problem is a tremendous heat that accumulates in the engine bay, requiring very powerful cooling management. There is a lot of shielding, not much venting, and for this reason, the N63 features an additional electric water pump to cool off those turbos. The initial N63 B4400 version, also known as the 300 kW 4.4 liter, is known to be painfully troublesome, with issues ranging from typical leaky injectors up to the scored rod bearings. A lot of them are associated with the placement of the turbos. Oil leaks are an everyday routine. The heat tends to dry out the sealing material, and the worst are turbo oil drains leaking in the valley. When it gets too bad, the oil may smolder. Besides, a wastegate N54-like rattle is also a common issue. Stretched timing chain and braking chain guides should not be a surprise, as well as oil consumption, often slipping through valve stems, material of which has been changed in later versions. In fact, Consumer Report released a study in 2015 which considered 500,000 vehicles of various makes and models. It stated that a 2011 to 2014 BMW 5 Series requires 27 times more oil topping off than an average vehicle. With that in mind, having a spare quart or two of oil in the trunk would be a good idea. Engine firing troubles are usually caused by coil or spark plugs, occasionally by faulty crazy expensive injectors which are worth about $2,400 for a whole set. After all of that, the engine may not even start simply because of a dead battery, which did its best to keep the cooling running after engine shutdowns. There was even a class action lawsuit against BMW, the N63 premature wear and oil consumption being the subject, and the result was that they simply changed the technical service bulletins, stating it is a normal behavior for a high-performance engine. With an old 15,000 mile interval, it would mean about 20 quarts of oil to top off between the oil changes. A major update of the N63 finally came in 2012. Codenamed as the N63 B4401, it is more commonly known as a 450 horsepower, 331 kW version. This was a technical update, now featuring the Valvetronic, which basically omits a need for throttle bodies, though they are still present. The TU got also rid of the diverter valves on the turbos, because of the Valvetronic abilities. New valve covers with an oil return system were installed, improved valve stem seals, revised turbos and internals of the engine. Fracture split conrods with the crankshaft are now forged and pistons were replaced for lighter ones. Cooling has been improved and a second ECU, now one per bank, was installed as well. The N63 worked great as a base for the M engine, initially the X5M and X6M, and since 2013 also the M5 and M6. Right out of the bat, it was introduced with twin-scroll turbochargers and different cross-flow exhaust headers for the turbos. This patented system ensures that every 180 degrees of crankshaft revolution there was a pulse coming to each turbo, improving throttle response. Slightly different internals and cooling were standard. However, in 2013, following the N63 technical update, the S63 received a high compression ratio, high boost, and was equipped with the Valvetronic. Both the N63 and S63 have been updated in later years, with the N63 also getting the twin-scroll turbos in 2016. They are made in the same factory, on the same manufacturing line with the same cylinder and valve size. The alusil block material remains unchanged, piston, pin and rod heights are equal, and both engines use 6 main wall caps with 3 various fasteners for the job. Where they differ is the block's internal design of the oil and water passages. The N63 has got a single exhaust header per bank, the S63 exhaust manifolds direct outer cylinders on one bank, and the inner 2 cylinders of the opposite bank to a turbo. The result is a reduction of exhaust gas recirculation when the intake and exhaust valves are both open. As far as the turbos are concerned, the S63 has got larger compressor wheels by 0.5 cm with an electronically controlled peak boost of 1.8 bar. That's a significant increase over the 0.8 bar boost in a 2016 N63 regulated by mechanical vacuum wastegates. The S63 pistons are designed to prevent oil from seeping through piston rings in high revs more efficiently. Additional grooves below the rings, with twice as many holes for oil to escape to the sump, were added. The S63 oil sump houses about 0.56 liters of oil more, as there is also a different oil cooling system. BMW's oil interval is 30,000 kilometers or 15,000 miles in the USA, but that's highly recommended to shorten to at least half of that. Even that may not be enough for conrod bearings, which are relatively narrow and can get eaten through sooner than later. BMW likes to tighten up engine tolerances, and their plain bearings are notorious to fail. These are 110,000 kilometers old with 15,000 kilometers oil intervals. Yes, this engine is only for brave men. It is very expensive to fix and quite challenging to repair, not really an easy engine to work on. Imagine that crankshaft damper is torqued in a sequence of 100 Newton meters, then 60 degrees, then 60 degrees, and then another 60 degrees. Being one of the worst engines ever made, BMW's first twin-turbo V8 was not a lucky draw and demonstrated how not to make a hot V motor. Especially in its initial years, it was packed with parts ready to crumble much sooner than one would expect. This is a marvelous engine on paper, however delicate enough to require a lot of attention and attentive ears for strange noises. However, when looking for more power, it is not even a matter of much cash to squeeze an additional 100 horsepower, and 500 to 600 wheel horsepower is nothing crazy to ask from the N63. If you are still thinking about the 4.4 liter, which was basically put into everything with the 50i badge, various M and Alpina cars to name the majority, get to know the engine you are buying, and good luck!